Give me a minute before the clock starts to ask unanimous consent to include in the record letters that I have sent over the last few years that show the non-responsiveness of the FBI to our inquiries on this subject.
Without objection.
And then a second one would be a little bit unrelated to this, but it deals with the unresponsiveness of Director Ray in regard to, so I hope the committee will listen to this as well. I've asked Director Ray several times to meet with me relating to a very troubling briefing that I received August 2020 from the FBI, and which was later weaponized against my and Senator Johnson's oversight. Director Ray and his staff have ignored my request to meet, mimicking the pattern here at the Nassar case non-responsiveness. So without objection, I'd like to introduce into the record of the hearing today an email thread illustrating the FBI's non-responsiveness to my request. This email shows the great length that I went to getting a meeting with Director Ray. Okay. Now my question to Director Ray. The Inspector General's report shows that Jay Abbott, a senior official in the Indianapolis field office at FBI, was allowed to retire in 2018 and evade prosecution, even though this report describes significant misconduct by him and an agent under his supervision. I've asked that the Attorney General reconsider the decision not to file charges against some of the individuals involved in the case, and I'd like you to provide this committee with a list of all disciplinary actions that took place with respect to FBI personnel who were the subject of this investigation. I believe that you owe that, at the very least, to the victims of today's hearing.
Well, we can provide the committee with whatever information we can. Certainly, as I've already testified here today, the special agent, the supervisory special agent who features so prominently in Inspector General Horowitz's report, I can confirm has been terminated. As to the former special agent in charge, he retired before this review commenced, before we learned the extent of his misconduct, much to my frustration. And as to the decision whether or not to prosecute either individual, I would respectfully refer over to the Justice Department, which I think is where, Senator Grassley, you said your letter was appropriately directed.
I'd like you to cooperate in ensuring that the prosecution of those individuals who failed these victims, and give us your commitment that you would go to the Justice Department again to try to get that done.
Well, I'm happy to do whatever would be appropriate. In this particular case, the criminal investigation that was conducted, the case agents, as it were from Inspector General Horowitz's office, which I think is as appropriate. So that's really a discussion between his office and the Justice Department. But if I can be a constructive part of that, given how strongly I feel, as I hope the committee can tell, I'm happy to do whatever I can that would be appropriate.
Next question. Why didn't the Children's Unit at headquarters play a greater supervisory or coordination role here? For example, by ensuring that the correct office at FBI handled this matter, and why didn't it follow up to ensure that the Indianapolis office had referred the matter to an FBI office that had jurisdiction over these allegations?
Well, I want to be careful not to try to paraphrase too much Inspector General Horowitz's report, since he's really the master of the facts here. But as I understand it, among the things that happened here were that the Indianapolis folks most responsible concealed information from certain people at headquarters at different stages of. That's part of the problem. We have implemented changes now that go to the point that you're getting at, which is the transfers between field offices. We've built in a number of additional checks, and one of those 3 or 4 additional checks that we've built in now gives headquarters program management visibility, so that which they're to monitor, so that they can ensure, as a second, third, fourth check, if you will, to make sure that the work is being followed up on and that the transfer is appropriately handled.
Did anyone at the FBI headquarters consult with Indianapolis and Los Angeles offices about notifying state and local authorities about the allegations against Nassar?
I don't know the answer to that, but Inspector General Horowitz did the investigation, so I'll let him speak to the facts.
Senator, I'm not aware of discussions about referring it to state and local authorities.
Director Ray, how far did knowledge of the Nassar investigation extend within FBI headquarters in 2015?
My understanding of the most senior individual involved, based on looking at the thorough and independent investigation that Inspector General Horowitz conducted, was that the most senior individual with sort of knowledge and responsibility was the special agent in charge in Indianapolis, Mr. Abbott. But again, I would defer to Inspector General Horowitz on that.
Was the director aware of the Nassar matter at any time in or before calendar year 2016?
I don't know the answer to that, sir, but maybe Inspector General Horowitz does.
Prior to 2017, did the FBI headquarters follow up with its field offices about the status of the Nassar investigation and whether further federal investigation was needed?
Senator, there was in 2016 some dialogue about that, but as we describe in our report, the FBI policies don't require the level of detail and reporting to the headquarters unit that would, for example, put the responsibility directly on them to have notified state and local authorities.
Senator Leahy?